The 16 days of activism are on, focusing on matters of gender-based violence. Take us through this conversation is none other than Njeri, from the team lead actually at UN Women, Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you for inviting us. It's our pleasure to be able to have this opportunity to, as far as possible, create awareness, and 16 days mean a lot to us.
Indeed. Now, from that particular piece, there's the issue of silence, stigma. We're talking about gender-based violence, but these are among factors that are holding us back to effectively eradicating the scourge. The statistics speak 1 to 4 where women are concerned. Why are we still having these conversations? 2023.
Because we've normalized violence against women. Look, we are 4 here, so yourself, myself, and that lady, one of us, the statistics say, have faced violations. So you can imagine how close home it is. If we added her here, we just know one of us must have. So therefore, the society has gone on to see that it's normal, that it's okay, that it's not so big deal. It's like if one after every 3 has experienced, well, what's a big deal? So, and therein lies the problem, that number is very high, that 30%, actually 33% having experienced violations, then is very big, and we should be seeing that we are losing a lot more. It's not just a social issue, it's a human rights issue, it's a health issue, it's an economy issue. When someone gets violated, can you imagine as a country how much we lose? If one of us 3 is going to face violence, for example, tonight, tomorrow there's no work, that hospital that is supposed to be treating malaria then goes into treating those injuries, that medication goes, one child doesn't go to hospital because, I mean, you get a whole ripple effect of national resources being employed elsewhere other than in what you can call development. So many times when we think of violence against women or gender-based violence in general as a social issue or just a society issue, it is not just that. It is that it really matters in the nation. It puts us backward. It pulls back the resources. It pulls back the energy, because how energized are you going to be in building a nation? How much of leadership are you going to take? How much of even being here at the station, for example, will an anchor be able to employ? So it pulls you back in many other aspects.
Other than just the social as we know it. Now, we saw in June a step in the right direction, if I may say, and this was the setting up of the Child Justice and Sexual and Gender-Based Violence, guidelines and a register being set up by the judiciary. Us going this direction, there are those who questioned and said, isn't this victimization, of individuals and such? You are team lead here when we talk about, eradicating of gender-based violence. This direction that we've taken with the judiciary, will it help deal with the current situation, prosecution, handling,
the way the war against violence has to be multi-pronged. It cannot just be one way, and it's not going to be one straight jacket that works 100%. So it's got to be all of us. Look at this year's theme, like invest in prevention. So you invest where you are. Invest resources, invest with your knowledge, invest innovation, invest in what you can. So for the judiciary, it is very positive, and they've made a lot of efforts. I don't hold their brief, but I know that they've made a lot of efforts, especially in having specialized courts. Look at that a directory, which then makes, if nothing else, then let's shame. Let's then prevent. Let's say ABCD is a perpetrator. Be watchful, be careful, because then we tend to trust people. Look at violence against children. Who really abuses children? It can't be anyone that is a strange, funny-looking person. It is a nice,
you've picked
friendly
it from
person.
My brain, because we looked at a report here that indicates that such violations to children actually happen within controlled environments. We're talking about school. They know the teachers. We're talking about homes. those controlled environments is where children are most susceptible. Looking at that particular perspective, because if 56% of Kenya's population, children population, are victims of violence, what are you doing as an organization, to help in this fight? You've said it's multi-pronged.
Yes, it's multi-pronged. So, of course, there's the whole issue about around access to justice.
Yes.
Kenya as a country already pushed forward 12 commitments to ending GBV. And amongst them, I mean, when it comes to GBV, we are talking about both boys and girls, women and men. So looking at it, then there are policy issues, pushing forward policy, not just the drafting and the passing of it, but implementation of it, pushing forward budgetary issues. So how do we then know that survivors, such children, are then taken care of, that they're having integrated services, that then even women that are going through these violations then are taken care of, not only health-wise, but that they have some economic empowerment to be able to pick up from there? Are we really using our data, our research, to be able to say, these numbers we are finding, why? When is it, what is making us susceptible? We realized, like, being close together, I think, is one of their undoings. You remember during COVID, numbers really went up. And so just seeing exactly what's the problem. So also working with communities around social norms. So what is this that we can do so that communities stop normalizing? And what do we do to prevent? Because as we all know, prevention is better than cure.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Now, looking at the social aspect, women and children are most vulnerable. We consider them vulnerable, demographic within the society. Where the correlation between, dependency, financial dependency, and gender-based violence. How do we get out from that particular situation?
I think we have to really go and push forward the issue of women economic empowerment, because the vulnerabilities are real deep. Look at a situation. A child is defiled at home, even by a brother-in-law. You're a wife, you're a mother in that home. If you bring it out, you're shaming the family. You want to push forward. So you take the brother-in-law to court. And your husband feels you're too much. This is something that can be talked over. Or at least let's punish the person home-wise. And so don't push forward. So when you insist on pushing forward, you have to move out.
Yes.
You and your children have to move out to where you do not know. And certain practical needs come to you as a mother, as a woman. It is raining outside.
Yes.
If you're told leave, are you going to go into a mutaro with your 2 children? Then you think, until then making them even more vulnerable. Then everyone comes to society and says, don't be so, don't be this, don't be that. And everyone finds, then they even start turning the story. By the way, where have you been? Like, you didn't notice you've been living with this child. So the whole table turns.
Shaming the whistleblower.
Precisely. And so you find that when this woman has choices, it's not like when you're economically empowered that these violations do not come your way, but then you have choices. You can't be able to say, I am going. You can't be able to say, I will go to a one-roomed house, but then I can. All right? Another, they just won't. They just can't. And so when people have choices, when they have empowerment, when they can be able to even go to that hospital, because remember, even some will tell you, I've not gone to hospital. Why? Sikuwa na fare.
Exactly. So, and if the women are actually covered, it means they cover their children. Okay. Now, we take a quick breather, but we want to put this conversation in perspective. When you talk about gender-based violence, men are not left out of it. 1 out of every 7 men, a group of 7 men, is a victim of gender-based violence.